Hi everyone, it's Sherry Carroll with Hero Arts with something very special for you this month called Take Time for Life from our Stamp Your Story catalog. The finished card that I'm doing for this video includes a lot of our painting type new stamps. They're really fun, and some great new daubers that we came out just for this release. I thought I'd show you the catalog and how it looks, and I'll just flip through some pages. We have 6x8 cling sets, and they're all in different great designs, a great new letter set, some painting type stamps, time, and then some great woodblock stamps that you can use to build your own backgrounds, and again, some painting ones. I'll be using this one for the card. And here it is in real life, and it's kind of a solid paint, and it has like drips coming down, and I just love the stamp. I'm really addicted to this new painting type format. And for this release we came out with 12 daubers. We have 6 colors in the neons, and then we also have 6 colors in some of our popular colors from our new mid-tone inks. So here's how our daubers look. They're nice, fine, small tip daubers, and these are the prototype ones. They're not packaged yet or labeled yet. And so we have some really great colors. And the butter bar looks almost like an orange, but it is butter bar in there, and that's one of our most popular colors. And here are the neon colors, the 6 neon colors, and these are super fun to play with. And I'll show you something with the neons at the very end of the video. So for now I'm going to concentrate on this painted background, and I'm going to choose 3 colors that go well together. So that is Tide Pool, Wet Cement, and Field Greens. And those are 3 of our most popular mid-tone inks. So here's how they work. It has a little cotton top dauber on the top, and I'm just going to dab this onto the stamp. And I'm not going in any particular pattern or anything, but I do want to get 3 colors onto the stamp. So I'm just tapping the stamp with the dauber, and then once I get down to the bottom I can swipe it. But here's how that tip looks. It's just a little cotton tip. And the next I'll do is the Field Greens, and this goes really well next to the Tide Pool, so if they happen to mix together they'll blend well together. And so I'm just again tapping this onto the stamp. If you notice I don't have it completely filled in, and it doesn't matter. I will be using water with this. My last color is Wet Cement, and this happens to be one of my most favorite colors, and it does really blend well next to the Tide Pool, so it just kind of mutes it out a little bit. So again, I'm just tapping this ink onto this stamp, and I am almost ready to give it a spritz of water. Now I'm going to just be using just regular tap water. If you wanted to do an archival type thing, then you can go ahead and use distilled water. And I'm putting a piece of paper towel underneath because I am going to allow this to drip down. So I have my water mist bottle, and I'll kind of angle this just a little bit so you can see about how much water I'll be spraying. And so I just want to make sure that I can see it getting really wet and starting to drip. I do want this to move around a little bit, so you can shift this back and forth. But mainly I want the drips to move down the stamp, and it will end up being wet enough to where it can drip off the stamp. So next I have a piece of regular white cardstock, and I'll just be laying this on top of the stamp. And I'm going to get a paper towel to put on top. And what the paper towel will do is allow that ink to kind of wick out, and the paper towel will absorb it on the sides. So that way you get a nice great image. And I will be peeling this up from the bottom to the top so that that ink will stay all at the top. So here's how that looks. I have allowed my piece of paper to dry, and next I'm using a set of stamps called Texture and Shape, and they have some really cute paint stripe type things and some rings like a coffee ring. And so here I'm going to use the Tide Pool dauber again, and I'll go ahead and just dab this onto my stamp. So I wanted to show you how you can layer these dauber colors on top of each other and get a more intense color. So again, I'll be spritzing this with water, just my regular water, and I'll go ahead and stamp this at the top, and this will give me an additional paint drip coming down with a little more intense color. So that's how that looks stamped. I love these stamps. One of the great things about these daubers is that they are permanent. It is an ink, so they don't reactivate once they've been mixed with water again. So here I'm using the Wet Cement, and this is just like a little paint plop here that I'm just swishing the dauber onto the the stamp and giving it a spritz of water and just stamping it in this area here. And so what I was saying is that they are permanent, so they won't reactivate the ink that's underneath, so you are able to layer the colors on top of each other. So now I have this little coffee ring, but it's quite a bit smaller than an actual coffee cup, and I'll also be using my Cup of Joe mid-tone ink. Here's my ink pad. And so I can just go ahead and ink this up, and again my stamps are also prototype, they don't have the labels on them yet. So I'll just ink this up a couple times and I'll stamp it onto scrap paper to make sure I have it how I want it. And next I can just stamp it over this spot here. Here's how that looks up close, really cute. I do like to stamp in 3, so I will add a couple more of these spots to my project, but this time I'm going to use wet cement ink so that they're not as prominent as the Cup of Joe color. So once again I'll just tap my stamp into the ink, and now I can just kind of randomly stamp this onto this panel. And now you can see the difference between the Cup of Joe and the wet cement. I think it turns out really fun. Another really fun thing you can do with the daubers, since they are permanent, is you can go ahead and color string and lace and ribbon. And so here I'm just adding the dauber directly onto some white lace. And once I have it pretty well covered, I'll go ahead and spritz this with water, and this will allow that dauber ink to soak right into that lace. And then I'll just kind of run it over with my finger. You could use a sponge applicator or anything else you want if you can do that. And I'm just using a package of paper as my backdrop instead of my craft sheet. It's underneath my paper that I'm working on. So now that once I have that really well covered, another thing you can do is you can go back over with the paper towel and kind of blot up some of the color, and that will lighten it a little bit. And the cleanup is really easy. I just use a little bit of paper towel just to wipe it down. And here's how that lace looks, and once it's dry it will lighten up just a little bit. I have pre-stamped a few of my little elements here, and this one is Take Time for Life, and I've used splash chalk ink, and this really gave me a great solid image. Also today I have stamped with wet cement, and those are stamps from the new Time set, and that's AC029. And I also stamped this cute little journal tag with Cup of Joe, and that tag comes from the My Favorite set, which is AC030. I am also stamping this Great Sun, and that comes from the Time set also. And for this one I'm going to go ahead and use the Field Greens dauber. And so I'm just kind of spreading that ink around onto that stamp and going ahead and giving this a little bit of spritz of water as well. And I'll stamp this a little off-center onto this little journal tag. When I'm stamping with water, I do like to let it try to set into the paper a little bit, and then I can go ahead and pop it off, and here's how that looks on the little tag. To finish my card off, I've just mounted everything together in a little vignette and added my ribbon underneath my Today. So it says, Today, Take Time for Life. So I wanted to show you a few more things in the catalog. We've come out with 4 great stencils, and I thought I would play with these with our neon colors and show you a really quick, fun technique. So this is the stencil. It's a 10mm stencil, and it's quite sturdy, and I'm using just regular white Hero Arts cardstock. So I'll start off with 3 colors that'll blend well together, so if they happen to bleed in together they will work fine. So it's neon yellow, neon orange, and neon pink. And so to start off I'm just going to dab these onto the stencil. So I'm not trying to get in between the stencil, I'm actually dabbing onto the stencil. So I'll just start mixing the color in and just kind of following that stencil around. And I usually like to work with one color at a time, so I've started with the yellow. Now I'll go back in with orange, and the orange is really super bright. And if you notice, I'm not actually getting it all perfect, just a dab here and there. Okay, I've completed this by going ahead and adding some pink in there, and you could certainly use your background paper as a starting point for a background, but I'm going to focus just on the stencil for right now. Now I'm going to spritz this with water. And if you notice, my stencil is not perfect. I don't think I have it all covered, just partially. So once that water touches that, then those colors start to mix, and that's why you want to have colors that really blend well together. So I'll go ahead and lay this down, and I like to put paper towel down over this so that it doesn't bleed out too much, and then I still get a sharp detail of the image. So now I'm just patting it with my paper towel, And once I have that well patted, I can go ahead and lift that up. Now you can see the color through the stencil, and I can go ahead and peel that stencil up, and now I have a really great bright background. Well, I hope you've enjoyed my tutorial on Stamp Your Story.